Ready? It is 4:30 on Thursday, February 28th, 2019. I call this meeting of the Meridian Historic Preservation Commission to order. Roll call. Blaine Johnston's here. Don Cronk. Here. Josh Everts, not here. Jody Alt.
Present.
Casey Neri.
Here.
Courtney McBride.
Here.
Ed Landis is vacant. Councilman Ty Palmer is not here. Adoption of the agenda.
Mr. President,
Ms. Neri.
I move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Motion by Commissioner Neri, seconded by Commissioner Cronk to approve for the adoption of the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Approval of minutes of the January 24th meeting.
Mr. President,
Ms. Neri.
if there weren't any edits, okay, then I move we approve the minutes as presented.
Motion by Commissioner Neri, seconded by Commissioner Cronk to approve the minutes of the January 24th meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item 4, Historical Society and History Center update by Lila Hill.
It's nice to be here tonight,
Good seeing you.
or this evening, or whatever we call it. Anyway, it's been a fairly quiet month. Stormy weather and other situations have found the History Center not opening several days. We plan to do better this next month. David and Betsy Hansen have taken over the project of finishing the index for the Before the Times book. I think Rosie Neri started it 2 or 3 years ago, and they have done several pages since they've begun on it. Robbie and Carol are continuing work on the location of early home sites in the village. Work is progressing slowly on the area collection of maps. Hopefully, we hope to have it complete by the end of Mayor Tammy's term. We had a query about a turn-of-the-century military school, supposedly in the Meridian area. The fellow was from New Orleans, and so I think he was a little disoriented. But I emailed him a questionnaire that said try Meridian, Mississippi. That it was not in the minute books, it was not in the newspapers. It was the first time I'd ever heard anything about it. We received 4 large boxes of Meridian High School yearbooks, and one of each of those have been added to the collection. We now have triplicates of most of them. So I think that some of those, we'll see if the library is interested in developing a collection for their facility. If they're not interested in them, we'll probably put them all in sale at this Fall City Bazaar for a minimum price, because we have some of those early years, even we have 3 and 4 of. So that's in the process. Linda was back in the office yesterday, the first time after her fall. Not quite up to snuff, but there and willing. Of course, we didn't have anybody people stop. Me, I guess I just continue to be the nosiest lady in town. Our next meeting will be held in the meeting room across the hall from the History Center, and while there, we will learn about using the Ancestry program that's now available to patrons to use at the Meridian libraries. We have a lot of people records, and that would give us a little more ability for all of us to perhaps maybe check out those things that we can't find at the library, because I no longer have an Ancestry membership. Mm-hmm. I'm disposing of my genealogy stuff, trying to clean things out before the boys have to do it. So anyway, questions? Oh, and I did mention a little bit ago that historic home sites map that Hillary can get you a copy of.
Okay.
That needs to be updated, because I know that there are 3 or 4 spots on them in my area where the houses no longer exist. So the county either needs to push it, maybe we need to push the county to update it, or we need to update our own area. So
We can update ours and then let the county know, I guess. So, thank you, Lila. On to new business, Preservation Idaho nomination. Thought occurred to me, and I wanted the commission's thought on it, if we nominate our Tour Buddy app for an Orchid Award. So I know that Josh has spoken to someone from McCall's Historic Preservation Commission, and they're interested in doing the same thing. So if nothing else, it'll get information out to Preservation Idaho that we've developed it, and maybe get some more feedback from them on the use of it. So, Hillary, what does it cost to, or does it cost us anything to put a nomination into Preservation Idaho?
Don't remember it costing anything in the past. It might have been something nominal. Don't see anything that's talking about, oh, mail, form, and $50 is your nomination fee.
Mr. President?
Ms. Neri,
Okay, then I move that we do a not to exceed of $50 for the nomination for the Tour Buddy app for the Orchid Award.
I'll second that.
give me a second. Okay, so we have a motion by Commissioner Neri, seconded by Commissioner Alt for a not to exceed $50 to nominate the Tour Buddy app for an Orchid Award. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Mr. President,
Ms. Neri.
real quickly, do we need help drafting the nomination? It's a one-page form, and then typically we submit some backup information with it. Do you want me to do it?
I can pull together some stuff and then send you what I think might make sense, and then if there's more that you think needs to be added, that'd be great. I will work with you on that, yeah.
That will work. Student competition.
Yeah, I should have brought this up to you guys actually last time in January, because that's when we've traditionally brought it up. But essentially, I wanted to ask you guys if you would like to continue to host a student competition. We did it last year for both middle school and high school aged kids, and I think it was actually pretty good award last year. I think it was $500.
Mm-hmm.
It was significant. My only input is that you guys have more on your plate this year as far as initiatives to pursue. But I don't know if you have another way to really reach out to youth and get them involved, or if you'd like to try to think of a different way to get youth involved, or if we'd like to ask Courtney to help us think of another way to get them involved, because this was really something that Ella Kramer brought up as in her role as our youth liaison, and so we could empower Courtney to brainstorm and think of ways that might also get youth involved.
What does the youth have to do for the project?
Someone else.
Yeah. So, Mr. President, Commissioner, we essentially, the first year, we took an essay, and it was open specifically to high school students. There was a rubric criteria. We asked them to research something about Meridian's history specifically and provide credible sources, so not just hop on Wikipedia and regurgitate the information that they found there. We asked them to reach out to the History Center or get on our site to find that. Last year, though, we thought potentially by expanding the media would help. So we took nominations in any form, whether that was an essay or a piece of art. We had two that were really great. One was like a stop action movie that was through YouTube. One did the fancy PowerPoint Prezi, I think is what it is, a Prezi presentation about Meridian's history. So the topic stays pretty much the same. We asked them to research a building, a family, something about what makes Meridian unique, and create a presentation. When we do that, we generally like them to allow us the rights to reproduce that in case we were to put it on our website or something down the road. Last year, we selected a winner in the high school grade, age group, as well as in the middle school age group. I think we to say this really carefully. It's a very good program, and I think it's one that could be expanded, but with all of the work that went into that, I think we only got 5 submissions. And we offer pretty substantial prizes. Like Hillary said last year, the winners got $500, which is a lot of money, considering there's not a ton of competition. I would love to see us continue an outreach program within the schools in some way. I don't know if a competition is the best way. We, year before last maybe, some of us commissioners met at Meridian High. Remember we did a presentation for students during their lunch hour? That was pretty well attended for kids giving up their lunch hour. I think we had 15 plus students maybe in that classroom. So maybe something like that might be more effective. Or maybe we look at a scholarship versus just a competition, because we just essentially handed them, you know, $500. I would love to see that be more impactful if possible, and maybe that means we tag team with arts, and we do some sort of historic art competition or something for the downtown. Maybe maybe we turn one of the traffic boxes into a competition with maybe a partnership, something like that. I like the program. I think we just need to change how we do it. Myself. There's a lot of information in a small amount of time for you, Courtney, but there you are.
Courtney, are you interested in kind of brainstorming something that you think might be impactful and interesting to our local, probably high school or middle school aged? But if you wanted to look even younger, you could.
I really like the idea of doing like the art in a box or something, and maybe like combine it with like the award for it, like making it like a scholarship award for whoever was like the art, or I guess it on one of the traffic boxes.
We do school awards. So when I was in school, and I want to say 4th grade, I remember there was a competition through the state of Idaho. They were remaking a historic quilt, one that lived in the History Museum. And all of the kids drew what they thought a quilt square could be, and they picked the winner of that, and that ended up being the one that they put on this quilt. But it was a school-wide program, and I don't know if maybe it's something where we reach out maybe to administrators and say, we'd love to give your school $500, or we'd love to give your, the winner of this school $1,000 to purchase art supplies, or, other manipulatives, right? Things that potentially are outside of their regular budget, and try to engage a school-wide. Maybe the school comes up with something to present. I don't know, something, and I don't know if that's even feasible, but might be more impactful and work with adults versus.
Directly with kids.
Yeah. It's amazing what happens if you assign it for a grade.
I know we don't have much time left looking at it till the school year ends, but I agree with Ms. Neri that it's impactful, and I want to get the students engaged in history. So if you think you can brainstorm an idea and have something back to us next month, and we can come up with an idea and move forward, if that's feasible.
And another idea is just to have a shooter idea to Hillary, so she can Hillary's kids maybe expand on.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, so if you come up with ideas, think of anything, just shoot it to Hillary. She'll email it out to all of us. We can kind of brainstorm, and then we can talk about it next month. Meridian History course.
This is another one. Do you guys want to do this again? Last year you offered it to the public through the activity guide, and Dawn was a liaison for that whole day and got to see how everything worked. I think both of the teachers were pretty happy with
Oh, yeah.
it being open to the public. Yeah. Do you want to just share your insight from how it went last year?
Yeah, it was really kind of fun because we had people that were in there that some of them had grown up here and moved away and were coming back here to retire. And so it was really interesting because the teachers would go through some of their slides and things, and people go, oh yeah, I remember that, and then they'd have a story to tell. So it was really interesting. And I don't remember how many we had there, but it was a pretty good group, and we were over at Zamzo's, and everybody loved going over there. It was just a really good day. I enjoyed it.
Can I come next time?
Did we supply lunch last year for that?
Yeah, that was so we supplied lunch. We charged the attendees, I think it was $10 or something like that, which kind of covered the cost of the lunch. And then HPC also paid for the instructors.
That's what I thought.
As well. Yeah.
Mr. President?
Ms. Neri?
I think it's a good program to do. I like the idea that it's open to the public, and maybe by doing it in June, we're not taxing the teachers in the middle of their school year too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on. I'm just maybe not. I'm not projecting. No, so I think it's definitely a valuable program, and if Commissioner Cronk is still, since you have the institutional knowledge of how it went, maybe that I would be happy to partner on a subcommittee or something if you need some support. But I think we should do it. What did we pay our instructors last year? Do we need a not to exceed so we can reach out to them and kind of get the shenanigans rolling? Let's see. Well, that's fancy.
It's so fancy. $250 each.
And it's Linda and Amy still. So I think if we can reach out to Linda and Amy and see if they are still open-minded to doing it. They have been huge partners with us with historic preservation for, gosh, like 6 years. So I'd hate not to continue to establish that relationship, and it would be, I think it's worth doing. So I would be happy to partner if you need some support or a not to exceed.
Yeah, the teachers were really great.
They're fantastic.
They know their stuff, but it was nice that other people could fill in blanks, you know, that they didn't quite know everything about how it was a long time ago. So, yeah, I think it was a great thing. So, and maybe do a little better advertising this time.
I can help with that.
So step one, just reaching out to, I guess, Linda, and then Parks to get it wrapped up in their activity guide. Do you need assistance with that?
Should be good as far as that goes. Yeah, that first part. And then I'll work with,
Hillary, I'd like to be included in that.
sure. I'll work with then Dawn, Amy, Linda, and Lila and get some things going.
Help with advertising.
I will probably just keep this as an agenda item, as a old business item, so that I can fill you in at your next meeting in March. I think March 2 might be okay for as far as approving a not to exceed for the teachers as well, just in case anything's changed there.
Was there a reason we did it 250? Is that like a limit, or could we give them a little bit of a?
I think you could give them more if you wanted.
It might be worth doing, kicking that up a little bit. Just a thought. I wouldn't, not like double, but maybe 300 or something.
I think that's what
Just to incentivize.
we have paid them in the past.
Yeah.
And we just never changed that amount.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. Is I think it's just stayed the same. So maybe because everything else is, maybe we should give it a little bit of a
more.
bump.
A little more incentive.
Yeah, and they do it all, right? I mean, they provide the curriculum, they wrote the curriculum, it's
Right.
time out of their lives and schedules and all of that, so I think we should, and we like them. I mean, they do a great job.
Right.
So, just a thought. I will probably recommend a not to exceed of 600, just so that everybody's kind of get your brain thinking about that. I'll recommend a higher amount next month.
That'll work.
Okay.
FY '20 budget discussion.
So the first budget discussion meetings are taking place actually tomorrow. It's not with us, but other departments are already starting their conversations. So I wanted you guys to consider what you need in your FY '20 budget. One thing that I want to call to attention was that we had talked about working with TAG to possibly nominate other properties for the National Register. And if we get through the initial kind of survey and the state says, yes, we would consider these for nomination, then it would take TAG, it could take them anywhere between, it was $4,000 to $8,000 to prepare the paperwork and application materials associated with an application. So I think you guys had discussed definitely two that I think would probably fit the criteria in that survey, although I'm still not sure. But then possibly even two more. We mentioned the Masons building, although I'm not sure if its time is quite right. And then, what was the other one? Oh, the whole mill, right?
Yeah, the
Instead of
mill.
just the elevators.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so that could be a serious impact on your guys' budget. Your current budget's only something like $14,000. So if you're talking about an additional even $16,000, that's significant. And you could always go and ask for a budget amendment if you like, but finance typically tends to want to avoid those. But they're also going to want to know what you're going to do with such a heavy increase as well. So you could just do like a $5,000 increase and then get one nominated. You might be able to even do one this fiscal year with your current funds. So just some food for thought on your budget. You guys think we should just increase it by 5,000? We could start with that, and then as budget discussions continue.
When do we need to have an answer back for an increase? Before next meeting, or can we?
They don't set the budget until, what is it, June? But these are base budget discussions, so I'd like to be able to say, like, you're planning to increase X as early as next week or the week following, so it would be before your next meeting. Or I could at least share with them what you're looking at if you'd like to nominate two properties and that range is so large, 8,000, 4,000 to 8,000. I'd like to at least let them know that if you're thinking that's where we'll be able to go.
Mr. President?
Ms. Neri?
Hillary, what do we have as our budget right now? Don't we have, like, is it $5,000 is what the current budget allows? Because so I'm just thinking through the steps of this. Typically, we would do a windshield survey to start it, which last time we did a windshield survey was $2,500. And so my assumption would be it's a little more than that now. And then, so they do the survey and they figure out that, yes, it is able to be nominated, and then we're into it the next 4 to 8. So each nomination, right, could be costing somewhere between $7,000 and $11,000. And I think I just want to know how much more we actually need to ask for. What do we have in the current budget for that line item?
So there isn't something that says National Register.
Right, we call it something different.
There's one that says Historic District Branding that under. There's also the consulting one, so they would be consultants for those applications. So the consulting line item has $5,000. Then depending on where the property is, you could have something under branding if you're talking about installing a sign at the property, and that's $2,000.
So we have 7 workable already.
But even though those funds are line item, we can use them for anything we want.
Yeah, you could borrow from other line items that
Right.
you know you're not going to utilize. So like if you don't have any additional training this year, you have $2,800 in training. I don't know how much camp is going to cost. I tried to email you guys out that, but I didn't see any related expenses to taking the course. But I can't imagine it costing $2,800, maybe $800 if a bunch of you went. But that's on the high range of that too. So talking maybe $9,000 that you could wiggle with this fiscal year?
So we can get started with the process this year
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
to get started, but to finish the process next year, we'll probably need some additional funds.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But if we did the windshield survey out of this fiscal year, we might have the money for that.
Right.
So then maybe we're just asking for, I don't know, another 8.
Right.
Probably. Yeah, Layla?
I had an email from Liz this morning, they had a major flood at their place of business. So it might behoove us to check and see if Big Tag Group has time to include.
I just emailed them last week, but that's new knowledge, so.
Or-
The survey, I think it was that Liz gave me also, didn't seem like something like the windshield survey that we've classically done. It looked like the state had developed something that we could use instead. Let me switch screens really quick. Show you. Okay, it did work. So this is what she sent me. This is their preliminary eligibility questionnaire. It doesn't say that it has to be completed by TAG or someone like that, although that might help us. We might also be able to work with maybe someone from Preservation Idaho as a volunteer, and we could use that as in-kind
Let's stick with Liz.
time. Okay, I'll scroll through this kind of slowly so you can kind of see what they're looking at. This is where it gets more complicated, where definitely the Liz's of the world would be more helpful to us, where it talks about building materials and features of note, although we do have an architect on our team.
So I was thinking, we've got some good knowledge on the commission.
This does seem like a less formal stage of the application process, so I don't know what. You could always call the state and ask what credentials they want somebody to have to complete this questionnaire.
So what's the point of this? So we would fill this out, give it to the state, they would look at it, and then they would determine whether our nomination is eligible.
Correct.
Whether they would even consider it.
Is this a new step? Okay. Is it a required step
That's what Liz said, so.
Yeah, the state does nominations.
now?
We have to submit, we submit it to the state,
Okay,
and then SHPO submits it to,
on our behalf?
yes,
Once
to
they've
the National
reviewed.
Park Service.
The
Wow.
second paragraph here kind of starts where
That's new.
she was explaining that. They were revising their information guide. does say if SHPO determines that any or all of the properties are eligible, they'd be happy to write the nominations. So that kind of made me feel like she wanted us to do the questionnaire and then to ask TAG to do the nominations, which does seem like the more formal and complex side of things. And I can always call Matt and I can call Pete and get more info from them.
What about this down here in the next paragraph? It's got in there about grant funds available. They could probably help us with that too.
Yeah, but you'll still need matching funds.
Oh, yeah, still.
So, oh, sorry. What am I doing? I was gonna go, I was gonna use the other computer. Can't get used to their new page. That's for fixing up. Does anybody see funds about registering property?
Click on who can nominate the property to the National Register.
I'm sure there's a cost involved. It would shock me if there was not.
I'm sure there is too. Nothing's free.
I can't recall if there are CLG grants that that could fall under nominating a property. That's what I'm really trying to remember right now.
Haven't we used them before? We used a CLG grant to pay TAG one time, but I don't remember if it was specific to nominating or if we were just doing
I think it was a survey.
And it's been a while, but I feel like we did. Like, it wasn't a complicated grant. I don't remember. I'll have to look through my files and find that.
What I'm hearing, though, is that there is interest in pursuing nominations in one way or another, and that we will likely need additional funding to fulfill those nominations. So maybe I can talk to Jenny in Finance Department about what you guys are considering. If we're saying 2 to 4 properties nominated, and the cost could be anywhere between, would it be 7 and 11 per property? But that's without a grant, and we could potentially find state grants to help with this. I'll see what she recommends, and then we can start building the base budget from there. And I can follow up with you guys again in March to let you know what her feedback is. They might also recommend that we budget for the entire cost, regardless of the grant, and then when we receive the grant, we don't have to do the budget amendment. That's a net zero budget.
I think that's our best option is to do the whole thing.
Yeah.
If we get grants, great. If not, then we can still proceed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. I feel like $44,000 is a big ask. I feel like it's I can hear the conversation that will happen when they see a $44,000 ask. I don't know if there's a way to draft that says, like, here's our dream, but we would also be super happy with 11. Do you know what I mean? And
it may be just one a year.
Yeah.
And not try and do everything.
And not try to do. I can hear yeah.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you.
Yeah. I think it would be awesome if we could get it all, but if maybe we say, we want something, so a minimum of 11, but if they wanted to be really generous, then a dream would be 44.
Right.
We'd even take half so we could do 2.
Right, exactly. I'd hate to just ask for it and it's like, well, no, and then we don't get somewhere in between either.
Yeah, if we could get at least 1 or 2 nominated.
Yep. I mean, that really is at the core of what we're supposed to be doing. So,
I agree. Okay, I will take that conversation to Jenny and we'll, and I'll probably reach out to Ty too, just to get his input. Because that's who might be one of our strongest people pushing back. So, who knows? Good insight.
And we'll discuss this further on down, so.
Oh, sorry, really quickly. If we do need to say like we're willing to do 2 or willing to do 1, do you guys want to establish maybe in March a priority of which one you would do first, second, fourth? Okay, I'll bring that up back then, but
Yeah.
food for thought.
Okay, we'll go on to current applications.
The application for that impacts 5220 West Chinden Boulevard is this one. Actually, I don't know how to, I can't see the things I need to see because there's things in the way. Sorry. I'm gonna move this over, you guys. Oh my gosh, why? Okay. So Fairborn sub number 2 is 5220 West Chinden. If you look at it, it actually looks like it is right adjacent to a property and not actually impacting that property. So here's phase 2 right here. And then if you look at Google map, it looked really close to this, which was one of the listed sites on our register. But I think that the line is actually basically right here. So they're talking about developing all. And then I'll piggyback on that really quickly because the Fairborn sub right below that impacts 6745 North Black Cat Road, you can see that from here. That is that property, which is right here. And you can kind of see it here.
And I've looked at that property.
There's one. Yeah, and that was a while ago too.
Yes.
And it was kind of a disheveled.
Yeah, there's not much there.
This one, so when you've suggested before that there was a property that was right next to a development and you'd rather get a picture of that property in more of its current state than with 2-story houses surrounding it. So we had talked about this one before and I don't know if you need pictures on that one.
I've got pictures of it and there's not much there. They're not fancy pictures. They're just off my phone, but there's not much there to look at.
Then my question would be if you think that 5220 would benefit from having a pictures. No, it's not threatened as far as I know. It will still exist.
But it might be nice to have the pictures before all the building is around it.
are there any barns out there, Hillary? Like behind?
This looked like more of a workshop
Garage or
than a.
something.
Yeah, it's a garage. I don't see any.
We go back to that aerial shot. Just like structures.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Mr. President,
Ms. Neri?
if we have budget availability, I think Commissioner Kronk is right. We should get out there and take one before it's surrounded by a whole bunch of other properties. It doesn't, I mean, I don't know enough about this property, but it looks like it's been remodeled to a certain degree too. But I would just get some photos. If Hull is available to do that.
Lila?
Well, my off-the-cuff feeling is it's too new. But I would think that we need to find out if it's been remodeled, if it had that porch cover added later.
That looks especially new.
Yeah, I think there's an add-on on the right-hand side.
Mm-hmm.
Do you happen to know any history about the property?
And not unless I have a name.
Because I know it's just west of Black Cat on Shinden.
But I'm not from that part.
Yeah.
of town. So that, I can't tell you. Carol could tell you, but I can't.
Okay.
But
Looks
I
like
would
new
say
siding and windows.
I'd check to see that if it's been remodeled at all.
I'm sure it has, because it looks like it's
Well,
either vinyl
the
siding or,
windows look to me like they've been replaced.
right.
I do.
And so that way it wouldn't be qualified. The outside must be original.
Mm-hmm.
So creepy that you can even do that.
There is no privacy.
Historically speaking, I would say there's no impact, but again, it would be nice if we at least get a couple photos, and then we can always research the property.
I will probably reach out, I'm blanking on his name, Whitetail Real Estate Photography first. He charges us the least per site.
That's fine.
So I'll ask him if he could get out there. I don't think, like I said, it's not going to be threatened, the structure itself. And then the hearing date for it is, what? Oh, March 19th. It was just sitting there. So I've got a week or two that
Yeah.
you could get out there and find a nice day. So.
That'll work.
If you guys want to scope out any barns also, now that we're talking photos, I know it's not current applications, but if you see any barns that you want me to try to get pictures of,
If we see any, yes.
I can bring them back up. Do you want to move on to Gander Creek?
Yeah, and then I've got a question for you after Gander Creek.
Gander Creek's hearing date is April 4th, so it's a little further out. Yeah, it was a strange map for the location. Sorry. McDermott and McMillan Road. So it's property impacted is here. There's actually, I'll show you really quickly on this is our digital map of the sites. All the red means that it would be ineligible. So that's a good indicator for you. So the way that this project is mapped, it looks like it impacts this property and then goes around this property. So I didn't pull up this one at 4725, but I did pull up 4455, the one below. And it looked like there were a number of outbuildings, which,
But other than just some sheds,
yeah, I couldn't tell how large like this structure was. It looks like 2 stories to me. Maybe it's not.
I think you'll find a house sitting in an area with some grass around it, though.
Can't see much from the. Those look like smaller outbuildings.
mm-hmm. I can drive past it. And
It's hard to tell. It could just be, wind and water that makes it look old.
mhm.
Yeah. Do you guys want to approve a not to exceed of, I think Whitehall charges us $50 per site. So if you did 100, that would at least allow if Blaine wanted to go check on this one, if it seemed worthwhile, if you want to empower him to make that decision. Or this one was April, what was it? April 4th, so it's a little further out.
Mr. President,
Ms. Neri,
thoughts on approving a not to exceed now, allowing time to go by and you can drive by the property and take a look at it, and then based on your assessment, we would then have the approval to call and have those photos taken, and if you look at it and go, yeah, this isn't anything, then we can bag it and move on. That way, at least you have the authority to make that decision.
was there a motion?
Oh, sorry. Oh, yes, sure. A motion for a not to exceed amount of $100 for Whitehall Photography to take photos of the 2 properties in the Fairborn subdivision and the 1 property on Gander Creek.
I'll second that.
Motion by Commissioner Neri, seconded by Commissioner Cronk for not to exceed $100 for photography services for Fairborn and Gander Creek subdivisions. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. While we're on the subject of photography, Hillary, do you or did we get a chance to get pictures of that old farmhouse at Verado, Locust Grove and Ustick?
Nope, it's gone.
Thank you very much. I didn't think so. It was there one day and
Yeah, it went fast.
it gone the next.
I think I had reached out
We tried to reach out to the,
multiple times
Yeah, right.
to the new owner, and just started getting no feedback. So, and he had said in previous conversations that there was a wire fence or whatever, so he was gonna like meet with us and get us in there.
Mhm.
And then I think the last time you guys talked about it was December or November.
I think it was November.
Yeah, and I said we could just take a street shot, and by the time I got a hold of Whitetail, it was already gone.
Gone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Locust Grove and where?
Ustick and Locust Grove, I believe.
Southwest corner, southeast corner of Locust Grove and Ustick.
Okay, I was thinking southwest. Okay. But Barbara Fulcher, the new senator's mother, grew up, I think, on the southwest corner there. The Laytons lived there. And she still has her marbles. She's a little older than I am.
Really quickly, we're still under current application, so I did want, I don't know if it fits, but I'd sent out letters for other properties that you guys had requested and haven't received any yeses back from those letters
Okay.
there. So you haven't had any recent photos taken.
Okay, we'll go on to old business. Pine Street school signage.
Yeah, that's a good one. So Carol Stanley came in and told me that she talked to John Wasson from ACHD about getting a sign for the Pine Street School. We talked about this, I think, also around October, November as well. And you guys asked for us to continue exploring how much that would cost and what that sign could look like. And essentially, John Wasson said that that ACHD could install a sign that is green, green background with white lettering, very similar to the Boys and Girls Club sign. And it would also be, it could only be westbound pine. They couldn't do one eastbound pine. But that sign would cost, I believe it was approximately $200. Here are Carol's notes. Yeah, it's a 30 by 30 sign. It looks smaller when it's up there. I didn't realize the signs were 30 by 30. But yeah, it would be on the right-hand side as you're headed towards the Pine Street School on Pine, going west. Specialty Construction is the one that would actually create the sign, and they would basically put together a proof that would cost $30, and then make sure that John Wasson and the Friends of the Pine Street School could approve that proof, and then it would be installed off of Pine. I don't know what this is, Franklin, just before Linder. That's where Specialty Construction is. And ACHD has, or Specialty Construction has the specs for ACHD, so they should know what they're doing and how to do that.
So are we looking at 230 total?
230 would be your not to exceed. Well, you could do it a little higher if you needed, but that's what you're looking at, yes. And I also don't know the history of HPC installing signs like that are like more roadway signs, although I don't think it's outside of your review.
Because if ACHD does it, it's in the road right of way, and we don't need to get easements from any property owners.
Yeah, it's an ACHD sign, I think, at that point.
Just trying to get an easement to put signs up is not fun.
I know. And I think that's why he recommended the 30 by 30 sign rather than Carol originally had proposed like a more creative sign that looked kind of like the schoolhouse that would go off of First Street. That was kind of a no-go. He just pushed her towards this direction. So.
Thoughts? Anybody?
Mr. President,
Ms. Neri?
is there a reason, and why not just do a historic, one of our nice wayfinding MDC signs in that area? That would look nicer to me for that same cost. Is there a value? Does Ada County list it somewhere? Because it just sounds like it's wayfinding, like marking it. I'd rather have one that looks nice in the district than this type, just myself, if we're paying for it.
I can ask MDC what their process is like for that. I didn't consider that option previously. Yeah.
No, you're fine.
And
if Pine Street School's paying for it, that's amazing. But if we're going to pay for it, I'd rather something that looks
matches the rest of it. Yeah.
what our
the
signs
theme
look like.
going.
Yeah, I mean, we have other branding, wayfinding signs out there. Sorry,
No, you're good.
super good.
It's
at
just an ongoing item that we need to talk about.
Yeah.
So we're not in any hurry. We just want to make sure we get it right and do it.
Absolutely. And I like the wayfinding concept. We should mark it. We
Mhm.
should absolutely mark our historic structures, but let's set a standard for what that looks like.
Are you talking about the signs, like Washington North or whatever, that same blue?
I would go more branded that direction, or if, you know what I'm saying? Like, because MDC's got, they have the ones in the medians, right, that are on the lighting poles in that style that say historic downtown you know what I mean? Like I would.
Do you want one that has Pine Street School on it?
Are we talking about one for in front of, like on the road, right? On that location?
Mhm.
Yeah, I would rather do something that matches what's happening on Main Street than, I don't, unless by having Ada County do it, if it puts us in some list or some map that they produce and they note all of their locations, I would rather just have a sign that looks, it's right across the street from a property that's listed on the historic registry. It seems like we should, if we're gonna do a wayfinding sign, let's do something that fits what we've already kind of moved towards.
Then I guess my question for legal, the signs that are in the median down Main Street, did the NBC and the city need to get approval from ACHD to put those in? Do you know?
I do not know, Blaine, the answer to that question. I can get in touch with Hillary and let her know, and she can report back.
I think that's, if this is the way we want to go, and I agree, if, let's brand it, let's do it the way it's supposed to. If we need to get approval from ACHD to do it, it may cost us a little bit more. I don't know. Maybe just some of the questions that we need to think about.
Yeah. I can ask, I can reach out to MDC and ask about the cost of both types of signs, both the ones that have the buildings on them, to see how much it costs them per sign for that design and fabrication and install. And then I'll also ask about their other signage that's more generic but still fits in with their brand.
Right.
To get you guys a variety of options and input from them. And then we'll find out what the impact is with ACHD, and then if we need easements or
And if we can use one of NBC's branded signs, but put it within the road right of way, I guess we'd have to get an easement from ACHD to do that. But that just goes back to the same thing. They've already granted us easements, or NBC easements, to do it down Main Street.
Mm-hmm.
The precedent's there for us to do it.
Blaine, are you talking about the planters on Main,
yes.
Yes.
right? And the signs there?
Mhm.
Yeah, because ACHD would have had to have weighed in with the planters.
At least.
Correct.
And the islands. Less, I'm thinking, for signage within those planters, but I will double check.
Okay.
We'll figure out more details on that before I follow up with Carol.
Okay.
I want to just tell her that we're exploring something. I'd like to have actual options for her, so. I'll let her know that we've talked about it.
Yep.
That's where it's going.
Item B, property photo use.
Yes, we talked about this in the past, but I didn't feel like we really settled on final say, and it did come up in the annual report to City Council. Their question was, what are you doing with the pictures that you're getting? So I think last time what I brought up to you guys was if the question of if you'd like to create a digital map, much like the public art map that the Arts Commission has, which is hosted through GIS and it's web-based. And then Josh mentioned to City Council that we could add another map icon to our walking tour that would essentially just list other properties or have those other pictures throughout the city of Meridian, which is I had not considered, and I don't know if we discussed. And then also the posts on Facebook. So the main reason I bring this up is I haven't had the time to post things on Facebook, although I know that's a key because it lets people know what you guys are doing. But before I moved forward, because there was some favor or some positive feedback on the digital map, I don't know if you want these photos to be used in so many places, or if it would be better to focus your energy on maybe the Facebook posts and the walking tour app, rather than creating a whole nother content or application outside of what you already have going on. Because then you would have the app, the virtual tour, and Esri map that are all on 3 different platforms. And then that also does impact me as your staff that's maintaining then 3 different platforms, rather than 2 or.
I think posts on Facebook are good.
And that was, I get that one.
Did you notice the Preservation Idaho reposted yours?
Virtual tour.
Yes.
Yep. Yeah, we had a couple of shares from.
Yeah. So I think the Facebook posts are good. Kind of like the idea of adding another map, for lack of better words, to our Tour Buddy app. So
Might drive more people to that.
Yeah.
Too.
Be like another layer from
that'd
what
be
we
just
have.
another layer.
Also, you can include multiple pictures over the sites that we do have multiple pictures from.
Mm-hmm.
We could put, say, 6 pictures of one property.
And that we can get with Commissioner Everts when he gets back next month and talk to him about what that would take to add an additional.
That's me.
Oh,
It's
you.
not Commissioner Everts.
For the
Yeah,
Tour
I
Buddy.
add those, yeah. I can do that.
Okay,
Would you guys prefer that over the GIS map?
I think so.
I think so.
Yeah.
Great. Good. Wonderful. Thank
Okay.
you.
Historic Preservation Month, 2019.
Yay. Can you guys read this okay? It seems really small.
Okay.
I got my glasses on, I can read it.
Okay.
Kind of an eye test here.
The trombone. Yeah, this is, I just told you guys I'd try to carve out time for you to discuss this, so I hoped that this would take the majority of your meeting. We might not have 30 minutes like I had planned, but there was so much interest for being on the committee that it made sense to have some time for you guys to discuss what you'd really like to pursue. And then I do want to add, before you guys start your discussion, is that we don't have to do everything in May. If there's something that you really want to do, we could always look to other months to do that.
What is the theme this year for Preservation Month? Do you remember right offhand? Archaeology and,
Right, it was like triumphs and
It's obscure.
something really weird. Hold on, I'll find it.
I think the guided walking tour, after what we did last year, I think that's, we had a lot of people.
It was good.
It was amazing. And you have to have Josh do the voiceover.
And you could almost offer that on multiple days, or you could say every Thursday of this month we're gonna do, and you guys
Mhm.
could go to different places if you wanted to. Because there was a lot more interest from the business community than I expected, and I know that we didn't get people walking by all of those businesses or into all those businesses that were willing to stay open for us, so we could explore that more.
could we, and just a thought, break it out, do businesses one night, and then homes another night? That way we know specifically, okay, we're going to look at the businesses. They know we're going to be there and bring people in.
Zamzow tour, that was really popular too, as well as the Pine Street.
Mr. President.
Ms. Neri.
I would love to see us maybe try to do something similar to what we did last year, only because we had the most turnout that we've ever had. I think some of these other ideas we've done and they've been successful and fun, but I want to make sure that it is worth our time too to be investing in it, and if we can split it, knowing that there was more interest than we were really able to support, maybe we just have a strategic conversation about which 5 properties we feature on each of these 2 nights, or maybe we do it at maybe it's the same night, but it's if you want to see businesses, you go track A. If you want to see homes, you go track B, and that way we don't have to try to coordinate schedules that many extra days, or expect people to come back to downtown twice. I don't know what the state is doing. Sometimes I think we could piggyback or promote if the state is doing an event, or Ada County is doing. I don't know that they do, but that might be interesting to see too, what events of theirs we could maybe even piggyback off of or get involved in. And
I'm going to go to Ada County's meeting next week, and I think they're going to talk about it, so I'll get an idea of what they're going to be doing.
Because that might be kind of, I don't know, maybe a partnership with one of those groups might be worth creating.
Yeah, that's worth looking into, for sure.
You want to focus mainly on the tours? Like the business tours, would that night include Zamzows?
Yes.
Okay. Would it include Pine Street School? It's not really a business, but it's not a house either.
I don't know how many went down there yet, or last year. Because it seemed to take more time with what we had going on than we thought it would.
Maybe we stop and end not at City Hall, rather than having people meet here. Maybe we could meet at Pine Street School or go from there, or meet at, I'm thinking of a way, like, part of the benefit I think of the tour or the app is that it drives traffic into downtown and it gets people into businesses that maybe they wouldn't regularly visit. So maybe we start and stop on Idaho Street, as opposed to here, so there's less of a distance to walk, and maybe it's at Deja Brew, and that's where we start and stop, and then theoretically maybe that drives business, or we could maybe frame that a little differently so that we get people that whole route. Not that it's super far from here to Idaho, but
It is, though.
it is a little.
Somehow
It
it
feels
is.
far for people.
I can't find, so I went to the state website, which is where we had seen the last announcement about the theme for 2019, and it said something about like triumph and failure, and remember it was saying like something's triumphs are another person's failure, and I'm not finding any of that right now. So I would say that maybe we don't count on their theming and maybe work with, like JC pointed out, something that's worked for us in the past. And then if there's some way that we can integrate the theme, great, but we don't have to necessarily. I'm worried that I'm not seeing anything on the state website about their theme. Because in 2017 they changed it.
The lady that did it has retired.
Oh. It's a generic email to contact.
Do we want to start looking at a day in May?
Would it make sense just to do it in place of our regular meeting, since that's already on our calendars? Maybe we do a quick 4:30 to 5, approve minutes or whatever, and do a 5 to 7, or
We've done it that way before, and it seemed to work.
might be easier on people's calendars. I know May is busy.
Our meeting's the 23rd, the 27th is Memorial Day. Um,
Post-graduation,
Graduation the 12th
11th.
or 11th.
Yep. School's in session for one more week.
If we plan on the 23rd, last year we had signs up for a week, I believe.
If this property could talk signs?
Yeah, and do we want to continue that along with?
I think so. I think people will like those.
So I guess we could theoretically put signs out on Monday, the 20th, and then take them down the 24th.
Yeah. Would it be a benefit to put them up on the 17th so that people could see them over the weekend? Or are you worried that people wouldn't see them over the weekend because there's a holiday?
We can put them up on the 17th. I don't have a problem with leaving them up for a full week.
I think that's what the permit allows us to do, is for 7 days. So
Then let's
might as
do-
well take advantage of the,
Yeah, then let's do the 17th to put them up.
quick thought, how is the construction going to impact, I mean, would it just impact Main Street off between Idaho and Broadway? Because we could always just cross, right, if, for getting to Zamzo's and then back over.
What construction? Oh,
Old City Hall construction, and then the construction at
Building apartments.
Main and Broadway.
Main and Roger.
That will affect it.
Yeah. If we meet, like you were suggesting, at a different place, it wouldn't be as high impact. The only thing that would be getting to Zamzo's.
But even if we, let's say, park, for example, just by the vault and go from there, it's still not that hard to come back down
No.
to Maine, cross on this side of Idaho, and then go down to the mill.
That's not bad.
We can wait till May too and see what the construction looks like
Right.
to plan that route.
Right.
You know.
'Cause they're probably gonna just be blocking, I don't think they're gonna be blocking sidewalks. They're gonna put probably a barrier up just within the sidewalk. But they're not gonna be blocking sidewalks, I don't think.
Open, yeah. We can have all of the properties picked and
Mhm.
ready to roll, and then just kind of at last minute, not last.
Figure out the
but-
tour
Yeah,
itself.
yeah, figure out the route.
Yeah.
Yeah.
dark as I
What I might do is just reach out to those same businesses that were interested last year and then kind of tell them what your thoughts are. I might do that in March, though.
That's
so that
fine.
We can have something more concrete or developed, and we'll see how much they want to play this next year.
Okay. That gives us a start of what we want to do.
I think keeping it down, narrowed down to the tours and the signs is probably an easier route to go. And then we do know that that's something that people like to do. So
Yep.
happy with that.
So, follow up from city council presentation. I wasn't there, so I don't know how it went.
Yeah, I put Josh on here, and I forgot that he was not going to be here. I was there. I think overall it went over fairly well. He presented after a really long, kind of bizarre city council agenda item, and right before another one of those, and he was like entertaining, and it was, you know, about 5 to 7 minutes, and all the council members just said basically thank you for what you guys are doing. They asked about where those photos were being applied. I hadn't remembered that I'd made that post about the virtual tour in January. So I shared that again and pinned it to our page, and then that's when it got kind of a little more traction. I think pinning it to the top of the Facebook page maybe helped people see it more. So that's good. Yeah, we've had a couple of shares on that, which is reassuring. And then I think he did mention also that McCall had reached out, or Walt, so someone from McCall had reached out about the Tour Buddy app because they thought it would be something that they could integrate into their programming up in McCall. So yeah, they were pretty pleased with everything you guys are doing, very appreciative of the hard work and all the time that you guys put into the commission. And then they always ask what more can they do.
Monday.
And yeah, and I think Josh kind of just said, like, thank you for all of your support and that you listen to us and understand us. And he said that we might basically consider having HPZ present more often to them to keep them more in the loop, especially as we're doing longer range planning type of things so that they can be more informed and more aware. And that way they're part of that conversation a little bit and are more inclined to contribute funds when we ask them. He didn't include that part, but I think that's part of the intention. Yeah, to stay informed so that they understand that you guys are working hard and do have impactful projects in mind. So, yeah.
And he was true to his form, I'm sure.
He was true to his form, but he was very brief. He was he was the second agenda item, and it took an hour and a half for him to get up there.
Ouch.
So he was really ready to have a short presentation. And we were able to include, I don't know if you guys, if I had sent to all of you the PowerPoint presentation, but it was basically pictures from the properties that we had. So they were seeing all those and we're like, wow, these are great pictures. So another result from that was that Barb Schiffer in the clerk's office has made basically slides for each of those pictures, and they now play on the rotating banner as well here in City Hall.
Nice.
Yeah, that was a suggestion from one of the council members. So, yeah. Something that I don't think any of us had thought of.
Open Government Financial Report.
Yeah. So I did want to tell you guys, I put that down here in reports because you had no January expenses, and you don't need to approve anything, so it's not necessarily an action item. But I want you to still have the link to OpenGov.
Okay.
So that's what takes you onto the fancy screen that we saw earlier today. And if you hit the transactions actual, that takes you to all of the current transactions. This is updated to the day. So it's not like you guys see your report that I include as a PDF attachment, and that could be almost like a month old.
It's a real time.
This is basically real time, yeah. So you'll see funds now. Oh, look, yeah, we did have one at the end of January that wasn't included. So that was from Whole Films for the photos at the Black Cat Farm. And then our membership for the National Alliance of Preservation Commissions. And the two other memberships that you guys had opted for have been submitted as well, but those were MasterCard charges, so they'll show up after that statement comes through. So, yeah, and also I just want you guys to be able to use this as a tool. And you can look up past years as well to compare other expenses. I'll have you approve those two expenses next month. That's just a quick report.
Okay. Comprehensive plan update.
So I just want to add a quick note here, and then I know that Jody also was able to attend one of the public meetings that were held. So there's a couple of very specific key areas that the Comprehensive Steering Committee or Comprehensive Plan Steering Committee are looking at, and they had two public meetings to address two of those larger areas. One of them was for the Fields district / meeting, and then another one they're calling Woodbridge Magic Bridge or something like that. And that took place on a Tuesday, and then I attended the steering committee meeting on Wednesday. And essentially the report from the Tuesday Woodbridge meeting was that it was very heavily attended, but that's because neighbors thought that they were being forcibly annexed, like, immediately. And really the intention of the meeting was to say, like, within the next, 40 years of the city existing, this area will be annexed, and we want to know how you'd like it to be planned. Like, you want it to stay whatever it is now, or I think it was actually kind of a hodgepodge, which is why they wanted to get feedback from the neighbors. Say, like, do you need mixed use? Do you need commercial? What do you need in this area? So I think a lot of people were relieved that they weren't being annexed or kicked out of their homes or something. But they're going to have a follow-up meeting on that for sure. And then the steering committee has talked about a couple other places that they'll have to have specific neighborhood meetings for as well, just to make sure that communities are aware of potential changes to zoning, or in the case, again, of potential annexing, seeing that that's going to happen gradually over the next 40 years. I mentioned it briefly before this meeting, but our comprehensive plan consultant from Logan Simpson actually left that position with Logan Simpson. So Brian McClure and Caleb are working with two new people that are stepping in as the project managers. So it's a little challenging at the moment, but they are preparing to send out the first two chapters of the drafted comprehensive plan. So those will be sent out for staff review and then the steering committee's review. So once I'm told that the steering committee can see it, I'll probably try to share it with you guys just to get your papers on it. And if you have comment, you can share it so that we can share that with either the steering committee or with the planning department. Jody, did you have any notable feedback? I don't know anything about the Fields District meeting.
The Fields District meeting was also well represented by a lot of people. It is impacted by the next section of Highway 16, so there was a lot of discussion about what's happening with that. I think one of the things that was most notable that I caught for me was there's a cemetery in the middle of that.
Oh my gosh.
Right in the middle of that. So that's something we probably should at least keep tabs on and check into. And then I did see just an observation. I think that there will be quite a few barns and things in that area coming up.
Okay.
Mr. President. Commissioner, on the cemetery in the area, are they talking about, do you demo a cemetery? I mean, would it would be impacted in that way, or it's just going to surround what's currently there?
I have no idea.
Okay.
It was just what do we want to do? They presented 3 different scenarios. Again, because of that Highway 16, you know, this corner is going to be highly commercial because people going in and out, and that's where a new high school is going with a potential grade school right behind it. So that area has to be figured out. So it was, do you like centered? Do you like, which one of these would you feel most comfortable with? And I think there were more people at that meeting saying, we don't want anything to happen than anything else.
Thank you.
So.
As Brian has or sends me out calendar invites for more of those meetings, I'll just keep forwarding them to you guys. So if you're interested or able to go,
Yep.
Please go, because this is kind of a new level that we've been able to be included on, or that we've been informed about. So it is nice to have some representation there, at least so that we kind of keep the rest of the group apprised.
Okay, National Register nominations.
I put this in reports too because I didn't think we had action on it.
Nothing yet. Although I did see, I emailed Hillary on it. Firebird Raceway has been listed. So, Meridian Speedway's been around a lot longer than Firebird has. So I think that's a foot in the door for us.
We have a whole file in there that Keith and I were always going to do a project of a history for Speedway.
Okay,
We can give you dates and times and in the file.
perfect.
Nice.
That will help a lot. So that's one of the ones.
It started out as a baseball field, and the kids climbed over the fences and so forth.
Yeah, so that's probably going to be the first one we do, is that. So when we get a hold of Adam, yeah, so we'll get with you.
On Wednesdays from 1 to 3.
Okay.
Do you have any more?
No, we haven't heard back on anything else. Josh is talking to Zamzow's. I'm trying to get a hold of Hungry Onion. And then we have the Masonic Lodge that we're trying to get a hold of too. So those are the 4. We'll see what happens. Children's Museum of Idaho.
Mr. President, Commissioners, this will be brief. Our numbers are still crazy. We're very, very busy. Brought on more staff. Staff are interacting with parents in kind of a different way, and working through just some of the hiccups of what is a learning facility versus a play facility. There's a lot of parents who come in with their coffee and think it's social hour and their kiddos just kind of run crazy. And that doesn't necessarily facilitate learning for other children. So they're working through that. Like I said, they brought on 2 new staff members, and staff members who are actually ex-teachers. And so they're hoping by interacting more with that type of, versus originally we were hiring based on customer service. We want somebody who has a strong background in education and customer service. And now it's more, we want somebody who has, who's a parent essentially and a teacher, because it's just, how do you interact with kids? How do you teach kids? And then parents can sometimes be a challenging group to interact with, and teachers have a knack of conveying to parents when their children aren't maybe making the best decisions in a way that is kind and parents seem to be receptive to. Teachers just have a skill at doing that. I think it's honed over years and years and years of having to do that. So that's sort of our target employee demographic right now. We have an event on March 16th, and it's all day. And it's actually being sponsored right now, the outdoor exhibits will open on March 16th. So we expect the weather to be warm enough. And that will mean the Dino Dig will open, as well as the Historic Preservation Cabin that we sponsored, the outdoor farming exhibit, which will have the farm to fork, so kids will actually get to be out there planting and things like that, and then the outdoor agriculture exhibit. So March 16th is a big day. If you happen to be free that Saturday and you want some volunteer hours, let me know. I can plug you in, because we need them. And then the only other major thing that's happening is commissioner terms are starting to expire. So all commissioners signed up for a 1-year term for the first term, and then they can renew for 3 more additional years. So we have term expirations starting actually in March and running through June. So if you, again, are looking for an extra volunteer project and you want to get maybe involved in the community in a different way, let me know. And as commissioners, or board members start to expire, I can try to plug you in that way too. That's it.
Okay. Neighborhood conservation overlay districts. Nothing new on this. Commissioner Everett was going to talk with MDC before he took off, and I have not had a chance to talk to him on what he found out with him. So this kind of goes along with the comp plan.
Yeah, my impression from Josh's MDC presentation was they had a couple of questions about how HPC has been working with the planning department. And then I think they were basically in favor of HPC continuing to get input from the downtown businesses and possibly businesses that might not be in the MDBA association, but that are on at least that main stretch between Pine and Cherry, to see what their feedback might be. So I think the next step is reaching out to the MDBA, which Josh might have already
I think he's
done
in
well.
the process of doing that.
Okay. So basically we're still moving forward, one group of people at a time. And the comp plan so far, the suggested changes haven't touched the policies that would inhibit HPC from continuing exploring this idea. And I do think as we get closer to possibly rolling this out, because I know you guys had kind of a pilot area that you'd like to pursue, but we do need to consider how future districts would be created as well. So if you want them only to be driven by HPC, or if you want neighbors to be able to create petitions and submit them to you, or whatever, because there does seem to be some public interest as far as things that the overlay district might cover. Like if you have if you only have like 5 things that your districts are going to cover, and it's setbacks and general facade, whatever, but you might have other people interested in trying to create their neighborhood as an overlay district.
I have no problems with having neighborhoods create their own. As long as we set up the guidelines as to what we're trying to accomplish, and they're within those same guidelines. If neighbors want to get together and say, this is what we want to do to protect this, and then have them come to HPC, I have no problem with that, so. Any other item?
Good.
Discussions, questions, problems, issues? Okay. Next meeting is on March 28th at 4:30.
Mr. President, I motion that we adjourn this meeting.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner McBride, seconded by Commissioner Neri to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, we're out of here. Thanks, everybody.